I got Mike here. So, but what a crazy day in the market. And I mean, it's rare you see this much news hitting at once all over. But isn't it a coinky dink that it happened to hit all on October 1st, right? And we come into, what did we say yesterday? The worst month out of the year when it comes to election years. Like very low, I did a whole members video on this. Very low success rate in October. Don't mean it can't happen, right? Because September wasn't bad at all, okay? But again, it's just very coincidental. It happens to hit right at the beginning, as soon as we started after that crazy run up at the very end of the day yesterday. And so we got a lot to go over in this one. I'm going to show you an interview, because of those who haven't heard, obviously, the what they call them, the longshoremen at these ports are on strike. That started at midnight. And there's one demand they have that I just found out. If it is true, they're insane. Okay. If it's not true, I apologize. So if you're in this business, let me know, but I can only go with what we read and what we reported on. Okay, you know how I feel about the mainstream media. Don't have much trust for it to begin with. But if this is one of the demands, I understand why they're doing it, and I'll show you why they're doing it if you don't understand why they're making this demand. But you can't agree to this, no matter who is in charge of coming up with the whole deal. You cannot agree to what they're demanding there. Obviously, we also had what? And Iran bombing Israel again, but that's kind of stuff. That's when we have tomfoolery in the market, okay? Because they don't care about that. The market don't care about that mess. Like, get out of here, okay? They act like they do. Remember, they use the news, and I'll show you in a second how they do it to move the market where they want to move it. We're sitting way up here, long overdue for a pullback, right? And then boom, right? Finally move us down, because if you saw, look at the news. The data, as we like to call it, came in actually better than expected, okay? Or where it was supposed to come in. But look at Joe's job openings. A lot of jobs. Well, that's not a tightening market, is it? What's going on here? And so, on a normal day, when they didn't want to move us down, if this happened in September, the markets would have moved up, right? But no, they end up moving us down immediately. And so that just shows, remember, again, they'll take the data. You could have that same data, again, 2 weeks ago, market would have been moving up, right? But now, what are we? Way up here at the top, okay? September's supposed to be bad. It actually ended up being good. And so now we start October, and guess what happens in October? Volatility goes through the roof the closer we get to the election. Okay, so keep that in mind. So what do you see the VIX doing? It's spiking today. We're coming down. Every time the market try to turn, some news will pop out. They start showing footage of the bombs going off, or oh my God, the longshoremen will come out with something else. And just always something, right? There was something else, I can't remember what it was, and it popped up as well to push the market back down, even though it had a really good rally, right? People were like, oh man, I think this thing's going up. But listen to this interview of the person who's in charge of the Longshoremen Union. I mean, don't tell me this guy ain't got some pinky ring. And for those who understand what pinky ring is all about, you understand where I'm coming from. Kind of say it jokingly, but just look at the gold chain and look at the way he talks.
Let me explain something to you. These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the company's money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you. And you have no idea what that means.
And here's the demand. I'll put this out here real quick. Look at this right here. One of the demands, if true, is crazy to me. They want a total ban on automation. Now you're thinking to yourself, why do they want that? I can't believe they actually want that. Again, if you know something even more about this, put it in the bottom. The reason why is because look at this. This is in China. Look at what they do in China. You won't see one person on this port right here. Everything is AI. Everything is automated. You saw those young people. They're driving everything. Okay. So again, do you see, it's a large port, right? Do you see a single person even walking around out there? Not one. Everything is 100% automated on this port. And so that's why they see the writing on the wall. They know what's coming for sure. And what they're lucky about is the fact in this country, our politicians are legally bribed not to have this happen. Okay, that's why you still have to go sit in an airport and arrive now 3 hours early for your flight versus going and getting on some bullet train or some crazy fast train to go from point A to point B. Instead, you still got the Amtrak, the Greyhound bus system, which has been around longer than I've been. Both of them been around longer than I've been alive, for crying out loud, right? And I'm not a spring chicken, right? But you ever wanted that? You go to other countries, and other people from other countries, when they come over here, they laugh. They laugh at how far we're behind in technology when it comes to our travel system. They just laugh about it. I mean, China has some of the most sophisticated trains you've ever seen. Matter of fact, just even the way they build bridges. My buddy's in that business. He showed me videos. He marvels at it. It is unbelievable how sophisticated they are. And when a communist country passes you in anything, especially with this, when it comes to technology and sophistication in your travel and how you build bridges and roads, you got a problem. Like, you know, at the government level, you are screwed, man. And of course, I've been over many times why that is, and it's just frustrating to see it. So again, they're lucky. They're lucky, you know, because you've heard the government officials say themselves they're trying to slow down automation, right? But automation is not a bad thing. You know how I feel about it. I already said, oh, your jobs are gone. You already seen that happen right now. That's gonna happen. But again, that right there, and I don't want anybody to lose their jobs, but it's going to happen eventually when the government finally lets it, start to happen. They'll let here and there it'll happen. On this one, they won't do it. God knows in everything else they do it. Ford, GM did it. Everybody else started to do it. But for some reason, when it comes to the ports, they're like, and I'm assuming they have some kind of automation happening. So they've seen it, the writing on the wall, and they're like, we don't want this to happen. So now that I've got off that soapbox, let's go ahead and go into the market and do a little recap of what we talked about yesterday. We're going to see overnight if we pushed up in that shaded area, got into a discount range above the 0.5 Fibonacci level. Happened not once, happened twice, right? And so one around 12, one around 6 this morning. And now that I expect that, nope. Of course, you can't predict, right, what all this crazy news is coming out in. What do you get, though? W-shaped recovery right there. What is that shaded area? We've talked about it many, many times, which is why I keep that kind of stuff on here, because it seems to be coming back into play. That shaded area has been there for quite a while. If we pull out and look, you can see it was support or resistance many times over. But way on back here. Keep going. There you go. Back to August on the futures here. And so will it hold? That's what we got to find out. Okay, you want it to hold. If it doesn't hold, obviously there is more downside to come on the futures. And what we got to try to do is figure out if they're going to try to push us up while we sleep again, right? Maybe try to push up and get a higher discount, maybe mitigate some of those fair value gaps right there, the larger fair value gaps, and then try to sell us back down, right? That could be absolutely one movement, or just start selling down overnight, because Hong Kong will come back online. China markets are still closed. And so that's what we got to see right here. That's what I'm kind of waiting to see if something like this happens. If the shade area is lost, obviously that's when you go, oh boy, because there's a 1 hour fair value gap below that, but there's also support down beneath. As you can see right here, we'll pull out and look at it, where that white line is way down there. That's where you see some pretty good support. But again, we got to get through the fair value gap that's down beneath that. And so we'll see. Come in the morning, we're going to see what they want to do to us and everything. But one thing I am going to do is I'm going to put some trend lines on here just to see if we break them overnight or in the morning for the upside. I'm going to draw this one through right here. See if we end up coming up here. Maybe that'd be a good rejection point if it does decide to move up tonight or tomorrow. And then, of course, shorter term right here with this rally happened where we did get the higher and low on the hourly time frame right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And, we'll see if we break either one or start to wedge in a certain area. Again, this is a supposedly weak month, so we will see. Real quick, when you look at the indexes, it was all about 5,700. Could we close above that? That's exactly what we did. We got below it throughout the day, as you can see right here, not once but twice. But they pushed us back above, and they closed it at above 5,700, which was kind of key, I think, for sure. And we kind of pull out some, we're looking at here, if we continue to sell down, there is that gap down there. So anywhere from 56.50, 56.70, that's basically where you're looking at. When we come over here, we'll pull up the SPY. I think that's what everybody pretty much kind of trades and stuff and looks at more than anything else. You can see we are below that trend line, but again, that's just a minute pullback right there, right? And so is it overdue? Yeah, it's overdue. Even the bigger one's actually overdue, to be honest with you. But, again, 565, that's going to be an old all-time high. If we pull it down here, you can see really right there, around 563.73. It will be even better. But, we'll see if we end up pulling down or not. Again, I don't put anything past this market at this point in time. I don't think you do either. And that's not even a big move down. It's less than 1% to even get down to that. And so if we break that little shaded area, which I feel like I've had on there forever, there's going to be a nice target between 554, 557, somewhere in there if we start to break down even further. But again, bears are going to have to actually have some follow through, right? They've tried it multiple times. It has not worked, and the market's going right back up. Okay, every dip keeps getting bought up. We'll see if this month's going to be any different. Now, looking at the Qs, you can see right here, we talked if we did break that blue line right there, then what was going to happen, right? We would come down and go ahead and hit that little shaded area, which was a gap right there. And again, I showed this, I guess it was Sunday maybe. There we are in this rising wedge. And of course, when it hit the top, that's what we were talking about it at. It's been selling down. Really, not really so much selling down, but coming down about 4 straight days. And again, it did hit into that shaded area, pop right back up. We had multiple stocks do this. The Qs did it where it just touched into the gap and immediately took back off and held out of that gap. So do I think we're going to hit that target? No, I talked about it Sunday. We're not going to hit that target, but I'm looking at the bottom of the channel, right? If we continue to show weakness and we end up going through that gap, then you look at these different levels, right? 467, 469, somewhere there at the bottom. At the top, you know where we're at, okay? So again, Apple, this is another one. Thought we had a breakout. Nope. Ends up coming down right here with some news. But again, what else to hit? It hit this resistance. So 233 is a son of a gun for Apple, right? To get if ever breaks it through that, it's going to explode for sure. No doubt about that. But of course, people are realizing, hey, I'm buying the same iPhone. It just has a better camera. So of course, right here, you can see there's reports coming out. You can see a 15% year-over-year decline for global iPhone 16 sales. The wait lines are shorter. I'd actually verify that on my end because my wife has an iPhone. We thought about buying one. What about you guys? Are you seeing the wait lines as long as normal or not? All right, now Tesla right here, you can see it came up and we hit that resistance yesterday. We talked about it, got the rejection down. We said if it came down, we're going to be hitting that shaded area right there, which is a daily fair value gap. This is another one, came down. It touched right into the daily fair value gap, got a bounce, said the heck with this market, I'm going back up. Going up like $10 a share or something from that point. Now understand, there is a catalyst coming tomorrow. So not only do you have one on the 10th, where this thing seems to be grinding up to, but you're sitting there and you have deliveries come out tomorrow. Now, why is everybody so hopeful? Because GM, look at General Motors. They ended up reporting like a 60% year-over-year jump in EV sales. You're thinking, well, if they can do it, Tesla can definitely put out some good numbers, and they do. Guess what? It's probably going to go higher, right? It might be one of these like Google. Google is green almost all day. Always look for stocks like this when everything else is going red. What's going green? Well, Google is green, right? It's coming up into this gap right here. It's also coming up upon the 100 moving average, which is going to have to get through. But when you get into gaps like this, it can absolutely move. Now, if the market's against it and the whole market's selling down, that is going to be a lot tougher. But today it said, FU market, I'm going up. And it was up pretty nicely. Everything else was pretty much red. But this one did. So watch that one right there at the 100 moving average for a rejection. One of you guys asked me about SMCI. Again, a 10-for-1 stock split took place today. They say, what do you think it's going to do? I have no clue because guess what? When stocks are doing stock splits, they normally run up into the stock split and then they sell off. Well, this one, of course, had its own stock split, right? We all joke about this. It's like a 4-for-1 stock split all on its own, right? Just by selling down. And so, getting a bounce, it goes against what normally happens there and stuff. But again, what I'm looking at is that trend line. That trend line right there, which goes back over here, which was support, has been resistance now 4 different times. If you break above that, you can get a nice little move up. There's no doubt about it. And as you can see, once again, man, the bulls are defending this level with their life. Because when you pull up that volume profile, again, falls down into that gap. Whoo! It's like, see you later. But they just don't want to let it happen. And now you're sitting in a stock, which people look at and going, wow, look, it's, what is it, $37 a share right now? It's cheap, let's buy it. And of course, they forget it was a 10-for-1 stock split. It's actually $300 something. But, if they let it fall in the gap, eventually, hey, this is the month to do it. It'll sell down because semiconductors were all red today. But if it gets above that trend line, you can see a pop right back up at around $60. So keep that in mind. Now, in all else fails, you can look at Chinese stocks, right? Once again, I didn't see anything come out of China for stimulus. and way up, like green all day. That should start off kind of slow, but then it just exploded again. So once again, this move continues. I can't even call this a stimulus gap up, I don't think. I didn't see anything. So we'll see how long this thing's going to keep going for. I know I would not be chasing, but I'm sure people are, and hopefully it works out for you. I really do hope it does. But eventually, I think a lot of people are still waiting on pullbacks, right? Now, watch oil. I don't know how long this tensions in the Middle East is going to affect it with Iran doing what they're doing to Israel and all that good stuff. But of course, any excuse to pop all up, they will. You can see we got a higher low right there, a little W nice formation forming right there, getting back up above that trend line and stuff like that. It did hit support, okay? And so let's see if this continues to move up to the top of that trend line. It's not really something you want to see right now, the gas tanks, but the gas pumps that is, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Now, looking over, one thing I'm going to be watching is HYG. This is the junk bonds, right? This has been going up and up and up, and finally we had a red day down. Oh my goodness, right? This one's good. Everything's pretty dang good, because if people are buying junk bonds, right, it's the riskiest thing out there in the bonds, right, when it comes to bonds, right? Then the market usually is still going to stay risk on. If you start seeing a lot of weakness in HYG, whole different ball game. Okay, so I'll watch that for us. Again, only earnings, really, if this means anything, it's going to be in Levi's. I don't really think that's big earnings, but as you can see, there's really nothing else going on. And then look tomorrow, ADP non-employment change. It's 8:15, not 8:30. And then you'll have crude oil inventories and a bunch of speakers. So tomorrow we'll get to see if we're going to get our bounce or we're going to continue to sell or get the selling pressure, that is, down. And so don't be surprised if it starts to go down. If you see another W-shape or V-shape recovery, I don't think that surprises anybody right now. But, and we will not feel the effects if this strike goes on for a little while, but he described to you exactly what's going to happen. Okay, so I don't know how that one's going to end up. Let me know what you think in the comments on that one. And so please hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Really appreciate it. Think about sharing the video. That would help out a lot as well. Feel free to sign up for the membership. I know a lot of you guys do and everything. And I will end up seeing you guys tomorrow for another fun, volatile day.